Good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you may be, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joe Szymanski. He's Palmer Johnson. This is the Onward to Victory podcast, your one-stop shop North Mason basketball run by Giant Killer. Palmer Mason is for the second time for the first time actually in the Tony Skin era. The Patriots are 10-1. A victory over old dirty Old Dominion last week brings back the spirits for the Patriots, and in just a night of goodwill, an afternoon, I should say, of goodwill altogether. Palmer, former head coach Jim Larinaga, honored at halftime, the first time I believe he's been back at a Mason game since leaving the team after the 2010-11 season. It was a nice affair, Palmer. Great to see that occur. But I want to know, Palmer, kind of what did you think of the game on Saturday? And I just want to hear your thoughts on what's been going on with this team over the last week.
It was a mixed bag of a game because Mason got after that big lead and then lost the big lead and then got the lead back. So it's just it could have gone better, it could have gone worse. I guess you'll take a 12-point win, but when it was 27-6 over the first 10 minutes, you would rather not take the 20-point win or the 12-point win.
Yeah, certainly that it's a game of kind of multiple periods. You had the Mason dominance through the first 12 minutes. Then ODU kind of slowly but surely chipping their way back into the game. In fact, they were able to tie it at 58 with a couple minutes left. But again, we talk about the Patriots being able to close games out, Palmer, and close them out in a big way. Mason, 15-3 run over the last 4 minutes, win this by 12. I mean, that just kind of is the story of the Skin era, especially in home games. Mason just kind of able to get the job done in the end when it's those close games.
Yeah, I mean, luckily they didn't. Or I mean, it got kind of close, but not like a problem amount of close. It got to 2, so that's pretty close. But it wasn't like you kind of felt like, okay, Mason's gonna get this back. But I mean, it's the type of game that you probably need. You kind of need we can't take the foot off the gas here.
Yep. Absolutely. Either way, Palmer, the storyline from this game, I think, undeniably, though, Palmer, Riley Allenspach started the game on his own personal 17-2 run, I think is what it was at the end. We've talked about it on this show a couple of times over the last few episodes, but the improvement from Allenspach from kind of the first 4 games to now these last 7 has been absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, he was a solid starter the first couple games, pretty much through the Catawba game, or I guess through Catawba, through New Hampshire, and then he just kind of turned it up, kind of pretty much starting in the MTE in Daytona Beach, and then has just not really let up since. I mean, he was a little slow against FAU, but I mean, he's getting boards now. He wasn't really getting rebounds early in the season, and now he is. And it just kind of feels like if you get the ball to him in the post, there's a pretty good chance that that's going in. Because I feel like a lot of the time, he's not even getting good shots. They're just kind of going in. That's kind of how it felt like with Haynes, where it's like, man, the guy played pretty good defense, but he just kind of went around him a little bit and put it in.
I think that's a great way to put it. But certainly, I think we talked about it through those first couple of games, Palmer. He was struggling a lot with finishing through contact. And I think also as well the amount of time that he was getting during a game. Obviously, and again, that's something we've talked about here, coming from the buckyball system at Samford, where, just the time wasn't necessarily given in large increments to his players. I think he averaged around 14 a game in Samford, maybe a little bit under that. But now he's averaging, high 20 minutes a night, and he seems comfortable, Palmer. And it seems to be a really big boost for this team. I think, we talked about this team coming in. I think probably the biggest question going into the season, it's not the biggest question mark currently, but certainly going into the season, was the 5 spot, Palmer. I think that's undeniable. But we seemingly, Tony Skin, I think very similar to what happened with Amari Kelly, has done it again, and he's found an asset who I think was overlooked a little bit and has, I think, with the help of Steve Curran for sure, has turned a guy who was, I think, not viewed as an Atlantic 10 starter into an Atlantic 10 starter very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure anybody at all. Like, I did not see a single person say, like, Alan Spock, he could be the starter. Everybody was thinking, like, man, he was really good in those minutes at Sanford. He'll probably do the exact same thing for me. Everyone's like, he'll do that same thing at Mason, hopefully. And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, he'll do the same thing at Sanford, but in double the minutes. It's like,
Yep.
whoa, that's some good scouting work. That's some good development, whatever it is. Uh, Clearly they're doing something right. Uh, I mean, honestly, he's gotten better in pretty much. I mean, he was at 5. I mean, I assume this has something to do with the play style. Uh, he was at 5 fouls for 40 last year, and he's down to 2. I just
Yeah, he
assume
doesn't
that.
foul a lot. He's had 3-0 foul games, and none of those games were the game against Catawba. So he's had 3 no foul games against D1 opponents.
Yeah, and I I just kind of assumed that. I didn't really know much about buckyball, but when I saw he was committing 5 fouls for 40, which isn't a lot, like it's more than you want, but not a absurd amount. I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe that's why he's not playing. Maybe he fouls too much. And then I think what it really was is he was fouling that much because he knew there was no way he was going to foul out because he's playing 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at the stats from his time at Samford. He only had 2 games across. I mean, he played basically every game in some capacity throughout his 2 seasons at Samford. He only fouled out twice so that's about what there? That's about 45 to 55 games there. He only fouled out twice. So, this is a guy who's just done an exceptional job. But Palmer, I think we also have to give our flowers to someone who we talked about in the last podcast, someone who I think got, some right criticism from us for his play this season. But we finally got to kind of see Adola Adebayo run out again for the first time in a couple games. He did start. There were some questions about that, but he ran out 16 minutes. And Palmer, not only did he not look lost on the defensive side, but he also was able to get to the line 7 times and looked like a little bit more aggressive getting the ball to the hoop.
Yeah, this is kind of. I mean, he played pretty much as well as you wanted him to preseason. 16 minutes. It felt like more than 16 minutes, but there were 16 good minutes. And I think that was less. That was less of Dola not being able to play and more Mason needs some offense. Get Troutman, get Hill in there, get a smaller lineup in there, rather than he can't play. I think if the offense was running a little better, I think he would have played a lot longer, over 20 minutes. Mincy was having a rough day. Long was having a rough day. Everybody was kind of having a rough day except Allensbach. So it just kind of made sense like, oh, but let's just take Dole out because Dole's defense is good, or it was good during when he was playing, but they might need a better offensive option out there.
Yeah, certainly in the end, but yeah, in the end, I mean, Allensbach, the leader, you look at 2 for 7 day from Jahari Long, 1 for 11 day from Corey Mincy. That's not going to happen very often, Palmer. I think particularly from Mincy. So, when you look at that factor, there's a 12-point win over Old Dominion. Look better on paper then because, oh, wait a minute, our best guard, or maybe our 2 best currently, were combined for what? I think it was 8 points combined. I mean, Mincy didn't get to the free throw line at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously you don't want it to happen, but it's kind of a good sign that, your 2 lead guards have, kind of have bad games at the same time. And it just, I mean, it mattered, but it didn't really matter. I think Allensbach having a great start really masked it. But, I mean, it isn't like Allensbach is bad. Like, he's kind of due for some game. You know what I mean? He's kind of due for some good games every once in a while. So it's kind of one of those things where somebody's going to step up. There's so many guys, somebody's going to do it.
I think that's absolutely correct, Palmer. But, we've talked about the guard situation here. Maybe it's sometimes a little bit lacking of depth. And I think maybe what was very interesting, I thought, from this game is that Tony Skinn ran some interesting lineups this game. He gave some runaway to Devin Booker, some runaway to some different lineup combinations. Do you think maybe that was a coaching mishap by Skinn, especially in the first half, that kind of seemed to be the catalyst for letting Old Dominion get back into the game a little bit?
I mean, in hindsight, maybe, but I mean, you kind of like I like Devin Booker, I like Stas, I like Konga. I don't think Konga was a problem at all,
No, I
but it
didn't
was
think
just
Congo was a problem.
but I mean, I think he's just kind of seeing like, okay, what's gonna work, what's working here, what isn't working here. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Ellington only had 7 minutes. I'm just gonna assume that's because of Swanton Roger being
Yep.
7 foot. Uh, I think it was just trying to figure out like who's the backup center, because there kind of wasn't really a backup center in this game. You know what I mean? Like, or more of a
Yep.
backup four. I think it was just trying to figure out different lines of, okay, if Ellington can't really play, kind of don't really want him out there at the four. Who else can run the four, and not be a problem? And
Uh,
it it you're trying stuff.
yep.
I'd rather them try now than in 2 weeks.
I think that's absolutely a good point. But speaking about in 2 weeks, Palmer, Tony Skinn appeared on the Field of 68 A10 Insiders podcast this week, and he dropped some interesting information, Palmer. We've all talked about it. Will Braden O'Connor come back this season? Tony Skinn on Monday said he would be seeing the doctors this week, and if the boot is off, and I think we'll see that against Loyola Maryland on Saturday, whether the boot is off or not. If the boot is off, that means he is ramping up practice and production, which could put Braden O'Connor on a path to be ready for opening night of A10 play on New Year's Eve in West Philly against the LaSalle. Palmer, how big to the depth would it be in the backcourt to have Braden O'Connor ready again for the entirety of A10 play?
I mean, that would be huge because I think he's kind of similar to Jahari Long, where you're just kind of getting another one of him. Basically making it one more guard that has to have a bad game for the guard play to be bad. And, it's not uncommon for two guards to have a bad game at the same time. But you put a third one in there, and it's like, Lightning's not striking 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very good. It's a big floor raiser because Devin Booker I like Devin Booker, but does not seem like he's ready to play yet. And it was with Braden O'Connor out, it's possible that he has to play sometimes. And with O'Connor in, I don't think it is.
I think that's probably correct. That's a big thing. And, it just gives Tony Skinn another option. O'Connor is very good defensively. We saw that last year. And if he can, continue to find form, that 36, 37% three-point shooting that we know is possible from him, Palmer. As it continues to go on here, Palmer, you're adding in that 36, 37% three-point shooter that O'Connor can potentially be. That adds another layer of potential to this Mason offense.
Yes. Sometimes it does feel like there's just a guy missing. Just kind of like, okay, the offense is almost good. It's almost working. And I think O'Connor just kind of, because he ran point guard last year, was not a natural position. But if he's not running point guard, if he's running your two, that's definitely a plus playmaker at that position. So it's just kind of making everybody better.
And O'Connor is both a very good free throw shooter and he likes to get to the hoop. I think that is very important. He likes to get to the hoop. He likes to be at the rim. He could finish well at the rim. He proved that last year. It just seems like he adds another additional layer there than a Mason offense that will be extraordinarily helpful. And we do hope and pray that we see that boot off on Sunday against Loyola Maryland, which means he's ramping up his practice and production. And we'll get right into it, Palmer. We're going to be talking about 2 games here, Palmer, the last 2 non-conference games of the year, one before Christmas, one after Christmas. Let's get into the first one, Palmer. This one might be, and I'm knocking on wood here so that way the sports gods don't punish us, Palmer, but this one might be Mason's easiest game of the year. Loyola, Maryland, 338th on KenPom. That is below New Hampshire as it stands. The Greyhounds from Baltimore only have 2 Division I wins this year of their 4. That includes an 11-point win over 340th Ken Palm Stonehill and a 11-point win over Coppin State, and that includes letting up 84 points to Coppin State, who is the fourth worst offense in the country according to Ken Palm. This is not a good defensive team, Palmer. They are one of the worst in the country, rated at 349th, and their offense is not much better. Their 2-point shooting is good, but that's because they've played mostly 300 to low 200 level teams who probably don't have necessarily always the size to keep up with their big man, 6'10" Jordan Steamke.
Yeah, the metrics look really bad, and as you mentioned, it's against a bad. They have the 355th hardest schedule, so that's bottom 10. So they have all these, like, if you look at their page, it's a lot of red, and it's like, oh, this is red against bad teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're, as you said, they're only like saving graces. They shoot well from 2, but they also don't take a lot of 2s. They just kind of, and I agree with this. When you're a team in the 300s, they just kind of chuck up a lot of 3s and hope they go in. And against Mason, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think they're going to take over half their shots from 3. And I think they should, because you're not going to win straight up. But they make 29.7%, so that's not good. And they don't really, they have like a shooter or 2, but you're just probably going to be able to stop those guys. If you only have 2 shooters, then it doesn't really, I mean, Mason's good enough that they're not just going to leave him open. It isn't like a Dayton or a Davidson where it's like, oh no, there's 5 good shooters and they're all running around. It's like, no, there's 2 of them and maybe one's running around.
Yep. That's about correct there, Palmer. I just want to point this out. Jacob Theodosiou, their 6'4" point guard, is a decent 2-point guy this year. He's already taken 82s, and he's 54% basically from 2 with a strong free throw rate. He has shot 43 so far to start the season. He has hit 6 of them. That is an even 15%, Palmer. Even 15%. Isn't that fun?
Yeah, that's shades of Rasul Diggins right there.
Good old Rasul Diggins.
But yeah, I mean, last year he took pretty much the same amount of 3s on pace and hit 33% of them. So it's a little scary. Like, there's probably some positive regression coming there, but it's not like he's some really good. Like, I mean, one of these seasons is fake, and it'd be pretty sad if it's the average season. But you just don't know. You won't know, and for a couple, you won't know until next year. Next year, you figure out, oh, is this guy awful or is he average? And let's hope for Mason it's not the average.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the question here. But Mason should be able to handle this game. But then on the 29th, it is Fran McCaffrey's high-pace running Philadelphia Quakers. The Quakers are 6-4, mostly against suboptimal teams. They do have a win over an Atlantic 10 team in LaSalle, but LaSalle is bad, and they have a win over another A10 team in St. Joseph's in Steve Donahue's inevitable regression. But Palmer, this is something that's really interesting right now. They have 3 really excellent shooters. Ethan Roberts, TJ Power, and Michael Zanoni are all shooting over 38%. Power and Zanoni are both shooting over at least 41.5%. These they shoot 3s. They don't take a lot of them, but they kind of let those 3 guys shoot the 3 ball, and it's working pretty well. But Ethan Roberts has missed their last game against Lafayette and only played 15 minutes against Villanova. I think his status, I believe, is in question for the rest of the month. So that would be one of Penn's 3 main weapons that would be gone. Their tallest player is a freshman, Dalton Scantleberry at 6'9". So this will be hopefully a good almond spot game if you're looking at it. But Palmer, talk about Penn and what they look like, how they differ under Fran McCaffrey versus the last couple of years we've seen them under Steve Donahue.
This is a team that's kind of committed to living and dying by the 3 ball. And it's kind of, I mean, they've made a lot of threes. Their defense is awful, but their offense is
Mhm.
fine because they take a gazillion three, or they actually don't take that many threes, but they make a lot of them. So it's just kind of it's it's complicated. They're just kind of committed to taking quality threes and not taking good twos because uh they're it's not, if you look at Ethan Roberts, he's shooting 38% from three, but 36% from two.
Yep.
And a lot of these players, Joe, they have you have to go pretty far down on their page to find somebody who shoots over 50% from two. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty bad from two. And like I said, it's really efficient from three, but it's really low volume, which is kind of odd. You just kind of assume that if you're good
And
from
it's really
three,
only
you
the
chuck
three
the
guys I
threes.
mentioned too.
Yes. TJ Power, former 5 star, which is, I don't know. Went
It's
from Duke
funny. It was
to, yeah,
Duke to
went from Duke
Virginia
to
to Penn.
UVA. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I didn't follow high school then, but it's like, man, where are the 3 stars? Because he's good, but it's like there's no 5 star upside here. There's no, I mean, it
I
it
don't see
sounds
it.
really good. Yeah, it sounds scary when you hear like former 5 star, but you watch them like, okay, this is a Ivy League center. This is an Ivy League forward. Uh, but I mean, they just have a lot of guys that are just shooters, and that's kind of it. Uh, which I mean, they also, I feel like with Ivy League teams, it's a lot of don't turn the ball over, and they're okay at that, but they still turn the ball over. Uh, Both their point guards are kind of looking like Mason's last year, where it's like, man, that's a really high assist rate because it's also a really high turnover rate, uh,
Mm.
which is just, that's not what you want out of point guards. You don't want, I mean, 33 to 28, 32 to 29. Like that's not good from your point guards. That's a
No.
lot. And it's kind of like, where are these numbers coming from? Because you're not getting wide open threes. I mean, you're not getting a lot of threes from them. But are these turnovers coming on like passes to bad twos? Because they're not making twos and they're not making a
No.
lot of threes. It's like, oh, this is not a good recipe. Now, of course, it's still scary because what if they take a lot of threes against Mason because they're making a lot of them and they've taken down two A10 teams, albeit not good ones, but they're still in the A10. I mean, they went 3-1 in the Big Five with their only loss to Villanova. And they got blown out by Villanova, but still, it's a little worrying. I did watch their last game against Lafayette, and they had a massive lead early and just kind of
Blew it.
slowly lost it. They also they so they will have played one game in 20 days when Mason plays them because they play Monday, December 8th, the 20th against Rutgers, and then Mason on the 28th. So
Hmm.
that's a lot of rest.
Mm-hmm.
So with I mean, honestly, I'm just going to assume Ethan Roberts is back because that's such a
Yeah.
long time. I mean, Ethan Roberts being out on the 8th kind of tells you absolutely nothing whether he's playing on the
Yep.
28th because that's the full 3 weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But certainly it's the more intriguing of the two pre-Christmas games. That's where we're going to end this one. But Palmer, the next time we see each other, we're talking Atlantic 10 Conference basketball, Palmer. The season of where hopes and dreams live and die truly starts New Year's Eve in West Philly, Palmer. Isn't that where everyone wants to spend New Year's Eve in West Philadelphia? I feel like that's where everyone wants to spend their days at the John Glazer Arena against LaSalle. But we'll talk about that next time on the Onward to Victory podcast. But for right now, thank you for listening. I'm Joseph Anti. He's Palmer Johnson. This is Onward to Victory, sponsored by Giant Killer. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.